Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today I wanted to answer a question that came in on a super chat with a video idea, and I thought this was a really good one. So the email comes in, he did a super chat and asked for something. I said, well, send that to me in email. So he sent a larger explanation here. So he says, you mentioned in the live stream last night for me to send you a note about making a video on the future of web development and tech work as a career and why you're building other income streams now. I think that may be of particular interest to your younger viewers who may be considering some sort of tech work in the future. I agree that the future of web development isn't so great. I've noticed it already with my own clients. They don't ask me to build web pages anymore, including with WordPress. I get asked to do a lot more Photoshop and video work than anything else. Anyway, it doesn't really matter too much to me. I'll start early retirement just under 3 years. I'll continue what I can for now, as much as I can after that, but I'm really curious to see what you think about the same, about where we're going. So I've always looked at web design. I've never looked at it to say this is a long-term thing that I absolutely want to do. And understand, I went out full-time in web design 10 years ago. In fact, it was right about 10 years ago. I guess it'd be 10 years ago in May or June. That's when I stopped teaching. I resigned from my position at the university, and I went directly into full-time freelance work. In that time, I did web design. I also did academic software sales, a few other little odds and ends in that area. But for the most part, I have been in full-time web design. The problem with web design right now is that there's so many more technologies coming on to give us so much instant websites, instant thing. There's even AI web builders, not that they're particularly good, but you have all of these tools, you have all of these abilities that are out there. On top of that, we have a whole host of people who are big into selling their services in third world prices. And somebody that comes in and says, yeah, I charge, American wages and American professional wages to build a website. There are still a number of people that want to hire those people. You work with a third world country developer one time, you realize you don't want to do that again. But still, a lot of people will hire that on, get the cheap site up, and then tweak it a little bit, doing a little bit on their own, which generally does produce bad websites, but what does it matter? The second thing is most people are utilizing services such as your social media platforms, your YouTubes or your Facebooks or your Instagrams for driving your traffic, and the need for the solid website in and of itself seems to at times be waning a little bit more. Now, I always recommend always having that. The next thing, though, is that there's so many of the platforms that make it a lot easier. Again, you probably are going to pull in somebody, but it's not going to be at the full level professional wages. If I come in and somebody wants a new website bid and I say, we're going to start about $750, most of them are like, I don't know. I don't know. The sad reality is you should do that, but many people won't do it. You'll look for those cheaper options, and we all look for the cheaper options. So I think overall web design, web development is not specifically a career field to get into right now. It is definitely something to learn. It is something to know. It's something that you can make a little bit of money in. It's just not going to be a long-term career with long-term employment opportunities. You use it as a bridge. You use it to supplement what you're doing. You use it for all of those. Now, I wanted to clarify this, though, that I've always, since I was in college, had the plan to develop multiple streams of income. And you always need to. You see, way back when I was in high school, you still had that ability to go out, work for a company, get a good job, and stay with that company for a long time. I don't want to say forever. Now, my grandparents' generation, maybe my parents' generation, they still had that ability. They could get in there, they could work the same jobs. I remember I had an uncle that had the same job. My aunt had the same job. I had another uncle that always had the same job. They started right out of college or shortly thereafter and stayed in those jobs. My mother jumped around a little bit more by her own choice, but still the current place where she works, I think she's been there, She's been there, I think she started there when I was in college, which was over 20 years ago. So she's been there for a long time, but she stayed in the same career path, just jumping for better opportunities. And so I looked at this and I said, well, you always want to diversify things. Particularly, you want to find ways of having passive income. So you have this ability to have active income and passive income, or maybe like trading your hours for dollars versus having some degree of residual income. YouTube is one of the things that for now can give you residual income. I put up a video and people will keep watching the videos, maybe not as much after the first couple of days. A particular video is not viewed specifically a lot, but they're still viewed enough that when it adds up to the pennies here and pennies there, it builds a residual income platform that is reasonably stable, if you can trust that YouTube's going to be around long term. That's why I'm not putting all the eggs in that basket either. But I also have books for sale across nearly everywhere you can go online. I have audiobooks and ebooks and print books, and you can purchase those books and buy them, and that produces a passive revenue stream as well with all of the different services coming in. You also have blog posts, websites. There's a lot of other things. Now, those are the things that I do. There's other things like real estate investing, stock investing. Of course, I have a little bit in mutual funds and some basic stock investing type stuff. You always want to build out your protocol and your passive income streams so that you're always building those up so that those will eventually surpass your trading your hours for dollars. Now, as you start out, you're going to have to trade some hours for dollars, whether that be salary or wage. It doesn't really matter, or per project basis. Either of those are all trading hours for dollars. You stop doing your work, your income stops coming in. For me, if I stop doing my work, I actually have enough coming in that I can almost cover my bare minimum expenses. I probably could if I streamlined everything down a little bit more, but I need to make sure I'm a little bit more stable because that's like no forward progress. That's like holding pattern. We don't want to be there. So the reality is I've always had it as my plan to have this income, multiple forms of income coming in, whether it be from videos or whether it be from blog post ad revenues or selling books or courses or things like that. And so for me, web development has never been something that I wanted to do as a long-term career. There is going to be a point in time when people in my field are not as readily sought out, and even to this day, they're not. Oftentimes, when it comes down to having a slightly crappier website, but saving hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands of dollars in any given month, many people will choose to just have a crappier website because the social media is where the plan is anyway. And so we get this is the shifting economy. We have to know a lot about what we're doing in our shifting economy. Okay, so with all of that being said, we have to stop and we have to understand that there are going to be things we need to do. You start with wage payroll. You start with picking up all your skills that you can. You start with trading out as much as you possibly can as you are engaging in your career path. And then as you have the extra money, you start throwing some money into savings. And now savings is for the emergencies. You start throwing a little bit here and there into investing. Maybe you come up with a course idea. You come up with a book idea. You start writing little books. You have some ad revenue coming in on some other blog feed. You have a few different channels. This is also why I'm diversifying my channels. There's a point in time when one of my channels may get shut down because YouTube shuts some channels down for weird and inexplicable reasons. Having multiple channels is another way to diversify. Also, on individual channels, having things in a lot of other places. Now, why do I focus more on YouTube and less on other places? It's a very simple matter of the fact that if all of my content is available everywhere, it dilutes down YouTube and I don't grow as fast as I could, believe it or not. That's kind of where the plan is. So you have to have a plan and you have to have a strategy. And I have a plan and a strategy, and I don't specifically unveil all of that. But at the same token, that was a fabulous question. And I do see that web design and development is coming to an end. And all of your careers are going to be coming to an end. Okay, you have to stop and think about how fast our world changes. When I was in high school and I took one of these aptitude tests and they're like, what should you be good in? What would you be good at doing? And all these types of things. Then you go in, you talk to your guidance counselor and what should you do when you're grown up? Dude, every single thing that I do right now did not exist when I was in high school, sitting down with a guidance counselor to figure out what my future career should be. That's, if we change with the landscape, we will be more successful, especially as we get in on the grounder levels of things coming up. So that is the reason why I see web design as not a long-term goal. Now, if you're wanting to get into the tech field, you want to pick up web design, it's going to be a stepping stone to other things. You want to pick up some programming languages, it's going to be a step to other things. But that's kind of what my thoughts are on this matter. Always, always, always diversify your income. We do not have guarantees of staying at long-term jobs. Most companies are more interested in their bottom line than they are interested in their employees. And as soon as they think they'll save more money by getting rid of you, you are going to be gotten rid of. It's a sad reality where we are. It does not happen 100% of the time, but it happens enough that we have to be aware of it. So with that being said, thanks for watching this one. Let me know your thoughts and your comments. Yeah, it was a little weird video, not really a Linuxy video, but we'll get back to the Linuxy content tomorrow. So thanks for coming along, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.